Hey everyone, Brendan Sander here. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of New Music Finds. This is a mega episode. If you guys are following along with me, then you know I've been on vacation for the past couple weeks, which means I'm hitting up a lot of record stores. And of course, it was holiday season and I treat myself. I have 42 CDs to show you guys here. We're going to get into it in just a bit, but if you are new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, I don't know what you're waiting for, man, because there's some killer stuff here on the channel for you. And certainly if you turn on notifications, you'll never miss an episode and you'll stay up to date on cool things just like this. We're going through 42 CDs. I don't even know if that's everything. I had to go through and count and check, and I probably forgot something and it'll turn up next week, but I had some major scores. If you guys saw that I had hit up High Fidelity in Amityville, New York. I had been there, it turned out 8 months ago is how long that had been. But big shout out to the owner, man. He always hooks me up, does me right, lets me film in the store. He's such a cool guy. I would go out there every couple weeks if I could. It's just, the drive out is not the problem. Hour and a half out, easy. No problem. When I tried to come home, it took me nearly 3 hours. It was ridiculous. And unfortunately, that's what keeps me from going. I have to find the sweet spot, and I haven't found it yet. My mistake was probably going on a Friday. But I had a great time, and I found so much. I think I actually had 34 CDs is what I got from High Fidelity. I'm going to get into it in a minute. 2 of them were ones that went to my car, though. They were just duplicates for me. I bought Motley Crue Decade of Decadence, and I finally found a used copy of Rat Detonator. I couldn't believe how hard it was to find a used copy of that. Those are just from my car. But I had a great time there. And man, I just, of course, being at Sound Exchange and stuff like that, so I've been doing a lot. But normally I kick off with new releases. And there really aren't any new releases, but I do have 2 things that are brand new 2024. One of them came out in the last couple weeks, and the other one I don't even know when it came out, but it's got a 2024 date on it. So I'm going to start off with these 2 new items. Bon Jovi put out a best of in Japan, and it's called All the Best 1984 to 2024. Now this is there's a 3-disc version and there's a 3-disc plus Blu-ray. So you can get like a super deluxe box set. You can get just I think they call them the Fat Boy case, where it's got 3 CDs. Or you can just buy a single disc. And so I knew of the 3-disc edition. Anthony found me the single one because he knows I love single disc greatest hits. And so of course I had him bring this in, and it was a really good deal. But they're from Japan. It has 16 tracks on it. And the best part of this is the sequencing, because normally they kick off with Living on a Prayer and they go right into You Give Love a Bad Name. And I'm just tired of every greatest hits package having that at the beginning. This one, on the other hand, does Living on a Prayer and goes into It's My Life, both of them being the talk box thing. So they're relatable. They also have the similar lyrics and all that sort of stuff in it. So it's actually really nice that they're paired together, because It's My Life was like an updated version of that. I don't really need those to be the first 2 tracks, but I'm okay with that. But what it really is great is the sequencing going on. First of all, it's not chronological, and I love that. Born to Be My Baby is the 3rd track. They put These Days on here, which I never would have expected appearing on a Greatest Hits. In These Arms, which I absolutely love. They just put really great ones. And so this goes up through about 2004, 2005 with Have a Nice Day is on here. But then it leaves everything out after that, and it does put one from the brand new album Legendary as track 16 on here, and it fits nicely within it. There's a deep cut, Blood on Blood, from the New Jersey album, which I never understand why it's on so many compilations. I think John just really likes it, but that's on here. And outside of that, it's all hits and everything. Very cool. I love it. New way for me to hear the stuff and listen to it and get excited, and that's why I picked that stuff up. But this next one here was the absolute score of scores from the longest time, and it's nothing necessarily rare, but I wasn't expecting it, didn't know about it, always wanted something more, and this is what I found. War Babies, Vault. Now, if you guys know the 1992 album simply called War Babies? Brad Sinsel, the vocalist, came from TKO. They made 3 albums, late 70s into the early 80s. But this album here is such an underrated killer glam metal album. I've always wanted more. I just wanted Brad Sinsel alone to do more. And we get an album's worth of, I guess they're demos, outtakes. I don't know. There's a booklet full of info. I just haven't read it yet. Of studio recordings. 2 live recordings are in here. There's 14 tracks on this thing. The live recording, Blue Tomorrow, they do a killer live version on a radio station. And what was the other live track? Sky is the Limit. And I'm just going to check the album real quick to see. That is not a song on here. So Sky is the Limit, a live version, but it's not a song on here. So in fact, every song on here I had never heard except the live version of Blue Tomorrow. Everything else on here, not on here. So if you are a diehard War Babies fan, you have to track one of these down. It's got a 2024 release on it from Metalworks Music. I don't even know, man. I got to do my homework, but this was the killer find. The find of finds for me in 2024 was finding that. This is an album I go back to. I rave about this album. I love this album. So, all right. I spent 6 minutes talking about basically 2 albums there. So now we got to slide through the rest of this stuff. This was an Amazon purchase. I was into Loudness recently due to stuff that I picked up from Fantasy Records that I did with Pete Pardo. Picked up a best of there, and it kicked off a whole listening experience for me. So I know I'm not into live albums. Look, I'm buying a live album. Live in Tokyo, Rise to Glory from 2018. 10 tracks, pulled together kind of a best of performance. They did 4 shows. I don't know if this is like night 1, because the other release, there's a 3-disc release that's nights 2, 3, and then 4 is on the DVD. So this might be the first night. I don't know. But it sounds great, and I love it. And, you know, when I need some new stuff, sometimes it's me buying a live album or a compilation because I own everything else. Okay, if you saw my, Q&A that I did, number 13, I talked about a lot of this stuff, which is great, but this was a band, Oz, that I mentioned there, thinking I had the debut album, and I still think that I may have at one time because this logo is so reminiscent to me. But this is a later era album, and I bought one when I was at Rock Fantasy, and it was so good that I went on Amazon and I found this one, and then later on, a 3rd one became available. You know, always check, put stuff in your cart, because when I went on Amazon, only one Oz record was available, and then I went back and I checked a few days later, and another one was available. So it's really strange. It's, you know, third parties will sell them, and do it through Amazon, so it's legit. But yeah, anyway, Oz is great. It's a Finnish metal band. Today, I think only the drummer's the original guy, but they sound really great. I am loving the present day version of Oz. And I do want to track down the earlier stuff. I just have not been able to get a hold of it yet. All right, I was just on a whole metal kick and stuff from the Rock Fantasy with stuff you saw last week and still on it. Obsession, Martial Law. Debut EP featuring Michael Visara, who would go on to play with Loudness, and you can see the connection. That's how I went from Loudness, pulling stuff from Michael Visara. I was able to grab solo albums that I have of his, and when he was part of Yngwie Malmsteen and stuff like that. So I pulled out my other Obsession albums, but I didn't know about this. And I'm going through Sound Exchange, just digging, hunting, and I pulled this out. I said, what is this? So there you go. I had some new Michael Visara. Still fleshing out my Green Day catalog, and I own all the albums now. So what else am I going to buy? I bought a Japanese live EP, Last Night on Earth, live in Tokyo. Does a lot of stuff from 21st Century, Breakdown, Know Your Enemy, 21 Guns, American Eulogy, stuff like that. And then it ends with Basket Case and Geek Stink Breath. But I have to say, the performance of this is phenomenal, and the live show sounds really good. Big live shows where the crowd is more of a background noise, those are the kinds I like. Still doing some of the britpop, jangle pop, stuff like that. The Smiths, the album is called The World Won't Listen. It's a compilation. It's a variation on something bombs, loud bombs. I can't remember. I have another one of theirs. It was the US. This was the British release. I listened to this one. I like the British release far better than my US copy, so I bought that. Sequencing, a few different tracks on them. It's not entirely the same stuff, but as a whole, I like that better. Haven't opened it yet, but I'm going to Big Star, a live album. I know, I say I don't like live albums, and I keep buying live albums. What's wrong with me? This is live in Minneapolis, but this is from 1994, and the reason I bought it is that it features the two guys from the Posies who joined up with Alex Chilton, and I forget the name of the drummer, being part of it. Their names were on here, I thought, somewhere, but I'm not seeing it fast enough. So this was a new lineup, and I really liked the one studio album they made in 2005. So I wanted to hear those guys playing. And I looked at the track listing, and it just looks great because it kicks off with their two best songs, In the Street and Don't Lie to Me, off the debut album. So I'm giving it a shot. But yeah, I haven't opened it just yet because I like to wait until I'm in the mood for that, and then I'll do it. James Lay, they're probably their most popular album and song. Really good, jangly stuff. I remember the one song growing up that never would have thought I would ever have bought this stuff. And in later years, I want to say during the pandemic, I really got into them. Their newer stuff, it's a little bit more modern pop, a little bit of electronic in it, definitely keyboard laden stuff than what they sounded like in the 90s. But I really, really liked it for some reason, and I can't explain it. But finally, I'm going back and buying some of the earlier stuff. Okay, some other stuff. So keeping on that whole Britpop and British stuff. I don't know what else to call it, but got in some Love and Rockets. I had a best of, and I was enjoying it. So I tracked down this 5 CD set, their first 4 studio albums, plus Assorted, which is B-sides and stuff like that. All the tracks have bonus, or all the CDs, albums have bonus tracks. They come in here, and they're these little cardboard cases. There is a booklet with it. But I love these things. This was like $26 for 5 CDs from the UK, shipped globally. 26 bucks, including the shipping. Freaking awesome, man. Okay, 3 Doors Down. The last album I didn't have from them, Time of My Life. This is a deluxe edition. It's got some bonus tracks, 4 bonus tracks on it, which was cool. And the last Better Than Ezra album that I didn't have, this one here, Before the Robots. So these are 2 albums I've only listened to once each. I will get, again, when I get a little bit more into the mood of that, I will get back to it. But as I said, I've been into the metal stuff. And so when I went to, spacing on the name, Amityville High Fidelity, I am so sorry. When I went to High Fidelity, I found 34 albums, 2 of which are in the car. I'm going to show you the 32. But when I shop, I don't just, I end up with those stacks, but what I do is I start to break it down, and I go, well, this stuff is more in the rock vein. This stuff is a good pile of metal. And then all that alternative rock, Britpop, jangle pop, I found more of it. Then a bunch of stuff that really didn't fit in any category, all right? So that's how I am. It's how I shop. And if I only have 1 or 2 of something, unless I really want it, I put it back. I kind of buy in genres and styles. So when I go home, I have a whole thing to listen to. And so that's how I've broken these down, because that's how they sit out for me. And I'm going to show you the stuff in the order of the way that I listen to it and have it. And so the first one, as I said, is more kind of a rock thing. So Ronnie Montrose solo record. I can't pronounce this thing. It's weird. It's Mutandis. See what I'm saying? I can't pronounce it. It's a weird 2 words. Probably means something. It's on the No Speak label, which is IRS Records. And I'm trying to collect all the albums that came out under the No Speak series. So they're all guitar instrumental albums. And this one here, extremely hard to find, very rare, costs a lot of money. It's got some damage on the booklet. Unfortunately, I did not pay a lot. I don't remember. It might have been $8.99 or something. but it's worth it for me to have it until I find a better copy, then I will replace it. All right, Gun, Taking on the World, 1989 debut album. I had their other two albums that they did at the time before taking a break, I think. This was one I thought I had, but I didn't. Then I went to Sound Exchange because I could have swore I had seen it there. Turns out they didn't have it. I found it at Rock Fantasy, so that was a very cool score. Found a Richie Kotzen solo album called Something to Say. And with all of his albums, I always like the very first song, maybe the second song, and then he gets off into that more soulful R&B sounding style music. And it doesn't really do a lot for me, but he always has one or two killer songs on the album. So if I can find him used, I want to get him because he's just one of those guys that I want the collection, but he's not one that I go back to very often. But I will say that I do have the occasional kick when I am into that more soulful sounding music, and then he's perfect. Okay, I found this, and I wasn't expecting to like this. I just kind of bought it to have it, but it's a best of from Bonfire, the best of the ballads, 86 to 97, an 11-year span. And but here's what I figured out. When it says best of ballads, you think, oh God, it's all the slow stuff. I don't really want to sit around and just listen to ballads. But every time I buy one of these, it's never just the slow songs. I don't really understand. I'm going to have to figure out the definition of ballad because they have a cover song from Billy Squire. The Stroke is on here. I would not call that a ballad in any way, shape, or form. And there's some other harder rock songs that are on here. And then the ballads that are on here are like power ballads, so they work really well. But I have to say, I listened straight through to 10 tracks on this, and it's got 17. Before I even picked this thing up and was like, this is really good. Like, this is not what I thought it would be. And that was the reason I bought it. I hoped that I would get home and listen to it, and it would turn out to be that way, and it was. And then I found this one, same thing, Thunderhead. And I cannot remember the history of this band. I have one of their albums, and I think it's down in my basement somewhere. I'm going to try to dig it out. Could be one I purged a while back. I don't know. But I do know who the band is, and I can't remember where they're from. I don't think they're from the U.S. I could be wrong. And I bought them at some point. I even want to say I think they're Canadian, but I could be completely wrong with it. So I saw this, Best of Ballads from 88 to 95, same sort of thing. Includes 5 brand new unreleased songs. There's 10 songs totally on here. And it basically is like this Bonfire, where there's some rock songs, there's the slow ballads, but the ballads rock. This turned out to be a great listen. I'm very happy with that. I picked this up on Dive Bomb Records, who's known for doing some cool reissues of rare underground metal stuff. And Dimage, I think is how you say this. From 1991 to 93 recordings. It's an EP of only 6 songs. I take that back. Actually, there are, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 11 tracks total, but the 5 of them are bonus tracks on here. But it reads like an EP, so I don't know if they were selling it like an EP price or not. But either way, I got that, and that turned out to be really good. I don't know anything about the band. I don't know if they were ever actually signed or this is just like someone's demo tapes because it says 1991 to 93, so I assume it's songs recorded during that era. But I mean, look at those guys, right? You know me. If I see that, I'm going home with it. That's how I shop a lot of the time. See if there's there. Picture of the guys from Thunderhead. I opened it up. I saw that. I said, I'm taking that home. I know what Bonfire looks like and sounds like. All right. If you watched the video from Amityville, I'm getting all my record stores mixed up. High Fidelity. If you watched the High Fidelity episode, then you saw me talk about this one, Private Life, where it's produced by Eddie Van Halen and Ted Templeman. Well, it didn't turn out to be anything like that, and I'm not surprised, and I bought that knowing it too. I actually did listen to a little bit of it. I was just really curious about it. It's definitely pop rock of the late 80s, early 90s sound, very glossy, totally of its time. Not in the mood for it today, but there will be a time because I do like that sounding stuff. I do like, there is a photo. Yeah. So I looked at that and I just said, oh my God, yes. What is it? It's like 1990, 91, something like that. And I just said, yep, doesn't matter. All right, I talked about this in the video too. Two Scott Mosher albums. Guitar player, I think he also does the keyboards on this stuff. Very atmospheric, cool. Some instrumental, some with vocals. He has Scott Oliva sing sometimes, not on, I don't remember which one I was listening to now. I think it was this one. He has a different guy that sounds phenomenal, but he often works with Scott Oliva from Inner Strength. And Oceans of Night is the band that Scott Mosher's from. You might know that. But I can't say enough great stuff about Scott Oliva and Scott Mosher. These two guys, if you've never heard of them and you like progressive metal sounding stuff, go check them out. They're available to stream. This stuff, these guys have websites. You can go check these guys out. You can probably purchase some of this stuff. I'm scouring record stores and digging it up because it's not readily available. I bought some Scott Mosher stuff off of Amazon. Yeah, I love these guys. I'm so glad because both of them reached out to me. I've never heard of their bands, don't know anything about it. It just ran under the radar for me. So these two guys reach out to me. They have a catalog of stuff, and I don't accept everything. I always ask if I can, send me a link to stream something. I go look up on Apple Music to see. And if I like it, I say, sure, go ahead and send me some stuff. And sometimes the stuff clicks and sometimes it doesn't. But I have genuinely become a fan of both of these guys to the point where I'm now buying stuff when I find it out in the stores. And it's one of my big scores of the day was finding this. In particular, I was really looking for this album, Inferno. And I found this one for $4.99, which was just cool virtuality. So going home with two Scott Mosher albums was a very cool thing for me because I just have never seen his albums, his bands, any of the stuff in stores. And I don't really know why. I maybe will start seeing more of it now because I know of it, but it never registered before. Okay, moving into the more metal and more power metal area, which is what I was in the mood when I was shopping at High Fidelity. I found this. Halloween, I Want Out Live UK EP. This is the reissue, not the original. I think it was originally like a Japanese release or something. But I found that. I found two, the first and second Master Plan albums, both of them with Jorn Landy singing. The guitar player in this is Roland Gropow from Halloween. So when he went off to go form this, and then he brought over one of my absolute favorite singers, Jorn, his solo stuff that he's just under the name Jorn. If you've never checked that out, oh my God, you want to hear a powerhouse singer? Check him out. But Jorn Landy is his full name. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but found two albums. And this one here I like, it's good, but I'll tell you what, this is the one that really gets me, the second album. Aeronautics is the title of that. That one turned out to be great. I will pick up any Praying Mantis album when I find it. Nowhere to Hide. They're just one of those bands, everything is good. And I didn't know about them until I got into digging into the whole new wave of British heavy metal thing. But I popped this on, and this is one of the ones that's just great from start to finish. I can't remember the other one. I think it's Something in Disguise, and I'm totally drawing a Predator in Disguise, I think is the title of it. Killer album cover. Killer opening track. And then it's just pretty mundane after that. It just doesn't move me the way that the opening track does. So it's kind of a bummer. It's still good music, don't get me wrong. But this album here, on the other hand, just every single song on it was great. So I feel that way about Praying Mantis, and I'll just buy, if I see it, I'll just buy it. I am fleshing out my Yngwie Malmsteen collection with Alchemy here. This has Mark Bowles singing on it. I think I really only know him through Yngwie Malmsteen, but he's one of those guys that goes off. He did Ring of Fire, and I follow his stuff over there, so I didn't know that he sung on this one. So when I opened it up, I said, who's the singer on this one? Oh, it's Mark? Yeah, okay, I'm going to buy it. But that's just kind of going along, because I sort of, for me, Yngwie Malmsteen's kind of in that power metal vein, although the shred fest that he does on it really separates it from that. But when you want that high energy, fast paced, double kick drum, just going a mile a minute style music, Yngwie Malmsteen. Okay. Now, this is a band, for whatever reason, I constantly confuse, and I think it's because of how they write the name, but Fair Warning is the band, and I'm absolutely loving this, but I will tell you what, in my mind the entire time, even if I said fair warning, every time that I talked about this in my video from the Amityville record store, High Fidelity. When I got home and I really looked at this, and I kept thinking, why do these guys not look like the guys that I know? Because in my mind, I kept thinking, fate's warning. And I have done this so many times with this band. But I will tell you what, of course, I just love the way the guys look. And it turned out to be more of that glam metal sound that I really like than Fate's Warning, progressive metal. I love it. It's so good. But when I was doing it the entire time, I thought I found a Fate's Warning best of. And I was like, I don't know about this. How do I not know about this? Right? I talked about that. I said, oh, I don't know what this is. Maybe it's a promo copy. I've never seen it. Right? Well, that's because it is fair warning. It's good stuff. 92 to 95. It's a collection. It covers 4 of their studio albums, 2 live albums. So it's a real compilation, and it's a killer stuff. I'm going to be looking for more from this band now. And I found an Alex Mossy solo album. This is called Attack of the Neon Shark, but the shark isn't neon. Well, I take that back. One of the sharks is neon. No, the guitar's neon. The shark's not neon, so how can it be Attack of the Neon Shark when the shark is eating a neon guitar? Should be the other way around. And why is he not playing a neon guitar on the back? I don't know. These are questions that I have in my head when I listen to music. Now you know what's really going on in there. All right, I was still into the whole alternative rock, jangle pop thing, britpop when I was at the store. So I still bought a stack of stuff like that. 2 Chris Mars albums. He was the drummer for the Replacements, but he wrote music for them. And his solo stuff, in my opinion, sounds a lot like the Replacements. I really enjoy it. So these, I believe, are the last 2 albums that I didn't have from him. I have 2 or 3 other albums, 2 albums of his, earlier ones. So fleshing that out. A lot of you guys recommended Golden Smog to me when I was on a Soul Asylum kick, and I didn't know that their guitar player had done stuff outside of it, although I knew Golden Smog because I have a best of. That's what I found out. I have a best of Golden Smog. For whatever reason, it didn't click with me. I popped this on and listened to this while I was in the store, and it was right up my alley. So it just goes to show you have to be in the right mood for stuff, or it won't click, and it doesn't make it bad music. Which is why I don't purge things. So I'm going to be digging out that best of. But I picked this up, and I know where I can grab. They had an EP that I'm going to snag. I know where that's at. It's like in a dollar bin somewhere. I'm going to be going and grabbing it now. Okay, I picked up this self-titled Wire Train for a band that is described in that whole jangle pop scene. 4 guys. One of the guys, Brian McLeod, on here, and I don't think it's the same Brian McLeod that is, Brian McLeod, however the name is said, that is from Canada, that did Chilliwack and a whole bunch of other bands, Headpins and stuff like that. I don't think they're the same, but his name is in here. Whatever this is really good stuff, though. It's on MCA Records. So that's what caught my eye. Nothing else about this. So I looked it up and found a whole bunch of other stuff, and I did not see this guy connecting back or mentioned. So I think it's an entirely different guy with just the same name, who turns out to actually be a session guy who's played on a ton of killer albums that I know. And it made me decide I wanted to grab this. Now, the 2 guys could turn out to be one and the same. I don't know. But that guy has his own celebrity status as a musician as well. But all the stuff that was getting listed was different. So I haven't had enough time to really sink in. And here's an album I really couldn't figure out if I had or I didn't have. But in the end of the day, I decided to take a chance. And it turns out I had a CD single from James Iha that looks just like this. I think it even has the same cover on it. Let It Come Down that has a couple songs from the album. And I have a second solo album, which was a Japanese release. I didn't have this one. And I guess I just never hunted it down because that second album really doesn't do anything for me every time I pop it on. I put this on, and this thing is so reminiscent of Smashing Pumpkins. I can totally hear where stuff went with Billy Corgan because of James Iha. And I love it. I just wish I knew about it at the time, and I wish that the second album had the same feeling as this. But now that I listen to this, I may go back to that first album, and it'll totally feel different to me because I know this one now. I don't know. It's the beauty of music, man. Things change, and you never know when something is going to spark This is an album I've tried to hunt down, very hard to come by, and I finally found it. Paul, Death to Traitors. I have the debut album, which I absolutely love. The single that was off of it, Jesse. It's about his dog. This is one I wanted and I couldn't find. It just cost too much money and I never wanted to spend the money on it. And then I found a used copy of it here. In fact, they didn't have the other one. They had this one. So it was sort of like, wow, that's really strange, you know. You never know what you're going to find. At one record store, there may not be customers that are in that stuff. And then they have these rare finds that are buried that nobody knows about. And then you drive miles to it and you're the one that gets to get all that stuff, right? That's why it's worth my time driving an hour and a half out and an hour and a half back or longer, because I made 34 scores and I'm not even done. Found a single disc jewel case edition of the REM album, a best of, the best of the IRS years, and I Feel Fine. I wanted that because I have a deluxe edition version that's a digipack. And then I found some of these promo cardboard case ones. A Spock's Beard, Hammerfall, another power metal band, OSI that's got some former Dream Theater guys and Fates Warning guys in it, Russell Allen, Atomic Soul, who's done things with Jorn Landy. They have a Landy Allen 3 albums that they made together, and he's from Sons of Apollo, and I'm sure he's done a lot of other stuff. I think he's a singer, Symphony X singer? Can't remember. Flower King, so some prog and some more prog. Magellan. I think this is my first Magellan album, so I'm looking forward to checking that out. I have not listened to these yet. I have so much music right now. This is being saved. And then the last 2 things, these 2 sort of bootleg best of collections, ZZ Top and Steve Vai. And I've really, really enjoyed these. I have 4 other ones from different artists, the sequencing, and they do master all the sound to be the same. And so even though these are coming from like Russia or somewhere, they make them look real. So the packaging is great. They put record labels on it, Favored Nations, Steve Vai logo, the American recordings, which I think they only made the 1 album for. But it's like, yeah, they make these things look really real. The insides of these things, you know, sometimes do their catalogs on them, list everything, put cool pictures of the bands. So I'm okay with this stuff. Because it gives me, again, a new way to listen to these artists when I don't want to just pull out an album. But 42 things for you guys right there. That's why this took 32 minutes to go through. But I had a lot of fun digging it up, and I had a lot of fun going through it with you guys. So thanks for staying this entire time all the way to the end of the video. And certainly big shout out to High Fidelity in Amityville, New York. If you were anywhere around that area, if you were looking for the most killer record store, packed to the gills, I spent 4 hours in it, and I loved every moment of it. I could have spent longer if I didn't have a drive home. It was an 8-hour day for me. I left at 9 in the morning, and I didn't get back until 5 in the afternoon. All day music. That is how I love to spend my time. All right, everyone. Take care. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.